Hey yo, what's going on YouTube? Today we're gonna be back with another Bible study with the boys. Today we're doing Revelation 6. Hope you guys enjoy the content today. If you guys do, go ahead and like the video and go ahead and comment if you guys have any um suggestions on things that we should talk about. But let's get started. All right, Coolin. Looks like there are 17 verses today.
Okay.
So I'll start. I'll read like 10 and then I'll let you read the other 7.
Okay.
All
That
right, bet.
works.
Sounds good. All right. The seals. I watched as the land opened up for the first 7 seals, and then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say, in like a roar like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. This rider was given power to take peace from the earth and make people kill each other. To him who was given the large sword. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard a third living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. The rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand, but then I heard what sounded like a voice among the 4 creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for the day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not do damage to the oil and the wine. When the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I heard a voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power on a fourth of the earth by the killing sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. When he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar of the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony that had maintained.
They called out they called out in a loud voice, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" Then each of them was given a white robe, and they were told to wait a little longer, until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers and sisters, were killed just as they had been. I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth, as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountain. They called to us mount they called to the mountain and the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it?"
Hmm.
Uh, this chapter's kind of hard to understand. I didn't read
Yeah.
because I missed You did what? Revelations 5 yesterday?
We did Revelations 5 a while ago. We haven't done one
Let
in a little
me
bit, in a hot
let me
minute.
look.
We
Let
haven't
me
had
look.
people
Let me look.
here.
Yeah. So these are the 4 living creatures that uh were said to be around Jesus, correct?
Yep.
So when they describe one, the first one, uh, was a white horse. He was given a crown and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. Uh, what would that be kind of like
Not the
symbolizing?
Antichrist?
No, because the Antichrist is the fourth one, I believe. Because it talks about
So,
death and Hades.
so I like to use this Bible Rev thing. I know, Coolin, we've referenced it before. So here's what this kind of goes through and kind of explains like each one a little bit. So it says in Revelation 6, Jesus opens the Lamb, beginning with the seven scrolls containing God's judgment on sin. The first seal is opened, and this is one of the four living creatures around God's throne from Revelations 4 that we referenced before. Shouts a command to Shouts out a command. John then sees a rider on a white horse wearing a crown and carrying. His power is conquering, and this figure is most often associated with the Antichrist.
Yeah, that's what I
Referenced
So the
in
thought.
first one
And
is
this,
it's referenced in Revelation 13. Obviously, we haven't got that far yet, but
mm,
and then some sought to the political leader who is drastically opposed to God during the tribulation. The chaos which induces this after this writer means that it is not Jesus who will return separately much later in the end times. And then it references like Revelation 19, which we also haven't got there yet.
right.
And then it said the writer described here has a different role than the prophesied events. So, yeah, I guess it would be referring to the Antichrist. I'm not really sure how
the
they.
scales, the one with the scales, I'm pretty sure is about like the wealth.
Is that the
Like, 'cause each
second?
one does represents the like destruction of a third of a lot of things, like one's sickness,
Yeah. So the second
one's
one
finances.
is the fiery red one.
So that's war. There's like supposedly war. Like that one
Yeah.
is the starts of the world wars.
So the second
What's the
the
third one?
second seal results in another shout from the angelic creatures and a second rider. This red horse is associated with war.
Yeah.
This complements the first rider's power of conquering, though the warfare predicted might be a response to the world leader rather than the power that he arises. The third seal begins a command to one of the living creatures and another horseman. This horseman is black, and the rider carries a set of
Illness.
scales. Balancing, meaning
Right?
to weigh things, immediately suggests
Oh, that's the wealth.
sacrity. People typically take care of are careful to make presents measurements of things that are scarce or precious. And another voice not identified indicates that the scarce is food, referring to wheat and barley.
Yeah, so isn't there like supposed to be like a third of destruction or something like that?
Yeah, it's implying that the rich are powerful and somewhat insulated in this particular disaster. For seal commands brings a describes the word chloris in the Greek. This in the Bible is described as grass and plants, a yellowish green. Um, so that
I took
one
a
is
class on
that
that.
one's death, right? Death is followed by Hades. In this context, it is referred
Mm,
to an unseen spiritual world. Whether the horseman effects are separate from one of the other three or
mm.
coordinated to specific horrific war, famine, disease, wild animals. The fourth kill is a fourth of the people of the earth.
Yeah, diet. Like a third, or it's a fourth. I thought it was a third. Maybe the third is a different. Like maybe it's the bowl or the next thing.
Yeah, so
But I know like at one point a third or a fourth of the population just gets wiped out. Third of the animals, sea animals, everything.
yeah, that's the fourth one. The fifth
Yeah,
one
it's wild.
is to bring contrast to the fourth. There is no shout or command. This also seems to be a particular effect on the earth at the opening of this particular seal. Rather, John sees martyrs at the altar of heaven. They seem to be killed by the tribulation, making those believers of Christ who, after the rapture, chapter 7 describes those sealed by God, are most likely included in this group. These martyrs praise and acknowledge God while begging Him to avenge their deaths. God's response is to for them is to wait, since there are no others being martyred yet to proclaiming Christ. The sixth seal describes the colossal series of natural disasters. John's description in here evokes earthquakes, volcanic eruptions,
Well, you guys already in the
tsunamis,
seals?
meteor shower. Yeah, that this is
This
the
is what we're talking
seals.
about right now.
That's Revelation 6.
Okay, just making sure.
Population and the blockage of the sky and the atmospheric disruptions. These events are so dire that even the rich and powerful crow in fear. Interesting enough, the people of the earth acknowledge that these events are the result of the wrath of God. So disaster is terrifying to even those who suppress the truth of God and are compelled to admit what is really happening. chapter
So
7 continues these events in which happen after opening the sixth seal. So,
This is supposed to be like the start of it. Like this
yeah,
is like the
so this
first
is
round.
this the
so
start of the end days that we talked about the other night, correct?
yeah. Yeah, so this is like the what would you even refer to Lon, what would you refer to the seals as? Promises or just like events?
No, those are the first events that like lead into the trumpets and the bowls.
Yeah.
So like the seals are the first thing, like he said, because supposedly there's a book in heaven, right? That like this thing comes out and starts breaking these seals open. So this is pretty much saying they're opening the book, starting the chapter of the end times. So this
Yeah.
is the first step. Yeah, and each one gets more and more intense. Like the seals have their own intensity, and then the trumpets have their own intensity, and the bowls or whatever order they go in. But this is like the least damaging, if that makes sense. Like this is, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy when you just read. I haven't read it in a long time. And I heard some of what you guys were going through, but yeah, I do know that this is like the most mild.
Yeah, kind of crazy though. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't even know. The natural disasters kind of are
Yeah,
kind of
that's wild.
that's kind of interesting to me. Like,
It's supposed to like get burned up, right? The sun's supposed to be so hot.
well, in chapter 6,
Oh, not yet, not yet.
all they say is that there was a great earthquake and that the sun turned black like the sackcloth made
Yeah,
of goat hair.
yeah, I'm on the wrong part.
Yeah. And then the blood moon, and then the stars start to fall to the earth, and the figs drop from a fig tree by shaking in a strong wind.
Yeah,
What, Brady? Brady says it sounds
Uh,
like Yellowstone exploding.
I'll be right back. I gotta
So,
let my dog in.
when I'm done with this, I'll put it over there. Um, yeah, this is this is crazy stuff.
yeah, I love it though.
I mean, but when you think about it, some of this is just like war, like some of this stuff has been happening for years. Like wars, like we've had wars for years,
Well, yeah,
you
some
know?
people believe we're actually past this section.
So I remember Pastor John said one time, and you might have been there at church, he believes that like we've been going through the end times for a long
Yep.
time. And the
Yeah.
end times they aren't necessarily going to happen quick, but they have been happening for a while.
Well, yeah, yeah, and I think, well, here, yeah, I think you're in the end times because it talks about it where it'll be like the days of Noah.
Mm-hmm.
So like when everything was crazy, and like there was just a bunch of messed up stuff going on.
Yeah.
Genes were destructed. Like the genealogy and human DNA was getting messed with, which CRISPR and stuff like that has been coming out for years and years. We've already done what are they
Yeah.
called? Uh,
I mean, we already
what
have
is it?
earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, meteor showers. Like we've already been having that stuff happen for years.
My only rebuttal to people who believe that is, if that's the case, then where is the Antichrist, right? Because
Well, do you think the
you can just read
Antichrist is one
Revelation.
person, or do you think the Antichrist is
Yes,
anybody who speaks
political
blasphemy against
figure.
God?
No, I believe it's one localized political figure, which that's what even in that
But
commentary
like,
you were reading
do you think it's
talks
one
about that.
person,
Yeah.
like one specific person?
Yep. Yep. One person that rises and trying to you know, set up his earthly kingdom, which we know that the Antichrist has to become first
Yeah, but there's
and
nobody
bring
that's
his
been
destruction
alive
with
that
him.
long.
What?
So I would say
I
that the
believe the seals are only like 7 years long. I don't remember. I guess the time frame. That could be completely off. We'll be able to know more. I can't remember how how it ends. I can't remember if the Antichrist is referenced in after the trumpets or whatever the last
See,
one
but
is.
isn't there somewhere in the Bible where the Antichrist is kind of referred to as like more of like not necessarily a specific person, but more an idea?
Not that I know of.
Because we were reading, dang it, I just
If you
closed
pull a
that out.
verse, I would be open to it, but I've never heard that or read anything
Cool.
like
And
that.
what was that verse that we were reading probably a couple weeks ago, where they were talking about like the Antichrist not being a specific person, but more of an idea? Do you remember us? I remember we had a whole conversation about it.
I've never heard anything like that. Personally. I wouldn't operate under that understanding unless I had something pretty material to back it up with.
But my thing is like if you believe that we've been in the end times for a while, then obviously the Antichrist has to be present, right?
Well, you can be in the last days and not be in the end times, I feel like. I think that's where people get confused.
Oh, it was because somebody brought up Lucifer. How Lucifer was an angel that fell from heaven.
Okay, yeah, that's different than the Antichrist for sure. I know what you're talking
But
about.
we
Some
weren't
people
talking about the
believe,
Antichrist.
Okay,
yeah,
hold
now
on.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Hold
because
on.
actually Scripture is like the opposer or whatever. What were you gonna say,
So
Brendan?
so there is a verse. Hold on,
Because then we got
I'm
into
pulling
a
it up
whole long
right now.
conversation about how Lucifer and Satan were two different people,
Yeah.
but with the same name.
So in Second John chapter 1, he is essentially he's kind of writing if I
Just
remember
read it.
right, if
I'll
I
listen.
remember right, he's writing a like a warning. But okay, so I'm gonna start at verse 6 just to like, or I'm gonna start at verse 4 to give us more context. So I'm not just reading this verse out of context. But he says, "It gives me great joy to find some of you children walking true into the faith, and just as your father commanded us. And now, dear lady, I am not writing to you as a command, but to one who you have had from the beginning. And I ask that we love one another. And it is this love that we walk in obedience to his commands. As you have heard from the beginning, his command is to walk in love. I say this because many deceivers who do not know Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh have gone out into this world. Such any person is the deceiver and the antichrist. Watch out that you do not lose what we have worked for, but that you may be rewarded fully. Anyone who does not who runs ahead and does not continue the teaching of Jesus Christ does not have God. However, continues to teach both, that is, whoever continues teaching the Father and the Son. So in First John chapter 1 verse 7, he specifically says that any person
Uh,
that does not um acknowledge Jesus Christ is considered a deceiver and the antichrist.
Yeah, well, I would say the Antichrist can be used as a title as well as a descriptive.
So but why would he
To me that sounds
so
more descriptive than saying I mean I don't know how you could use that to justify saying there's like the Antichrist is an idea and not an actual being,
well
especially when everything points to, especially in that verse you just read, that there is a political figure that comes to set up his own kingdom, but we would say nation nowadays.
Well, this verse is referring to any person that does not acknowledge Jesus Christ as the Antichrist.
Yeah. And who's John?
And
This is
so in
John what?
First John.
first or Second John verse
Second
7.
John
And
7.
who is that to? What church is that to? Isn't that to a church?
No, no, no.
No.
He
It's a
talks
war.
to the
It's like
churches
a
in Revelations.
yeah.
It's like the
Well,
first
yeah,
three chapters.
well, yeah, he refers to churches in them, but who is John written to?
Uh,
First, second, third John.
hold on. They're written to different people, each one of them. Second John is written to, or Second John is to the elder. That's all it says.
Yeah, because I mean,
So,
you're also reading scripture where like Paul warns these teachers about false teachers and stuff like
but
that, or the preaching
so
churches.
I guess my thought is though is that John not only wrote First, Second, and Third John, but he also wrote Revelation. So if he is referring to the Antichrist in John, 2nd John verse 7, then if we go back to where he's referring to it again in,
Revelation's a whole nother book written a different time period.
but by the same person.
Yeah. But Paul also wrote multiple books at different churches that didn't
I know, but why would
necessarily
he?
even
But why would one person use the same word twice and refer
as
to
a
it as
descriptive
different
term is what I would
things?
say. Because what do people do that bring in false teachings to the church? They destroy it. It's like
Hold
a
on.
virus.
Does it even refer to the Antichrist in this chapter that we read?
Not specifically. Revelations is a lot of symbolism. Because you have to understand when he was writing Revelations, he was looking at things he's never seen before in his entire life. Imagine like
Yeah.
he would have
I
been
just
mind blown by the stuff that he saw.
I've never seen. I guess what verse in the Bible does it specifically say that the Antichrist is one person?
Well, I mean, the
I
symbolism
don't
tells
think
you that.
he's.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that verse would be something I would. If you truly think that, then what you would need to do is go into like Bible Hub and see what word is used for Antichrist in that context.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You can go into Bible Hub and use that verse, but I definitely would not um, preach or educate or spread the word that hey, the Antichrist isn't a human or one person. It's just an idea and a concept. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You get out of my room, huh? Hmm?
Continue? No. You have to
It's
create an
bedtime.
account.
Go lay in your own bed.
The Antichrist refers several times about who will come in the days just before Christ returns to establish his kingdom. You have heard the Antichrist. See, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I've always thought that the Antichrist wasn't just one person. But I mean,
I
I,
don't. I don't agree with. I feel like you. This is a new idea because I think you would have heard that before from you.
I only say that because of how it's referred to in the Bible. Like I've never seen him say
That
there
you
is
just yeah that
one
you stumbled across
person.
recent.
What?
That yeah because based on what you read like a couple weeks ago, right?
Well, yeah, but also so in First John 2:18, John refers to it again and says, "You have heard that the Antichrist is coming." But if
What finish that? What's he say?
that's
And he'll come like the.
hold on.
Is that where? Yeah, read that again.
What
2:18.
is
Like
it?
what
First John
you
2
just
8
said.
is I said First John 2:18, right?
I think so.
So in that verse, he says, "Dear children, this is the last hour. As you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, now even many Antichrists have come. This is how we will know, though, this is the last hour."
Interesting.
So and we read this one too. And so, based off of the two books that we read that John refers to the Antichrist, like it doesn't sound like it's just one specific person. And I don't know
It
that.
definitely sounds like a spirit. It definitely sounds like a
That
demonic
okay,
spirit that
see,
overtakes
okay,
people.
so I would agree with that, but I wouldn't say that it's one person then. I would say it's I guess a spirit wouldn't be technically an idea, but like
Yeah, I
it's
still see it as a
it's
being.
it's something that isn't like it can't die is what I'm thinking. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like if like so
Yeah, but
this is
hold on.
this is kind
Let
of
me take
how
that back to
go ahead.
because there it talks about the Antichrist doing miracles.
Where
I don't
I
know. You should. Do you have your computer right there? You should look up verse about Antichrist doing miracles. Because it talks about too the Antichrist will have no broken bones or something like that. There's a I can't remember where it's at, but I know there's somewhere where it describes in detail.
um
Brendan, there's no way you just tried to spell miracles with a Y.
I don't want to talk about it.
MYER.
There's no way that you're critiquing my spelling right now. What does the Bible say about Antichrist miracles? Okay.
Hit the road, Jack. Get your own bed.
and I could be,
So
thinking of
this says
commentaries and not
that
scripture.
in Matthew 24:24 it says, "For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, as so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect." Is that what you're referring to?
Interesting. That might be it. It doesn't sound, but yeah.
Um,
I thought there was something that describes him being. It
is it in?
describes his
Do you think it's in
personality. He's like,
Revelation?
I do, because that would have
Okay,
been where I
so
studied.
Revelation 13:1 through 18 says this. Then I saw a beast coming, rising out of the sea with 10
Yeah.
horns and 7 heads, and
Oh
10
no.
decademods on its
Yeah, just
horns and
multiplayer.
blasphemous names on its heads. Then I saw the beast that was like a leopard, its feet were like bear, and its mouth was like a lion. And onto
Hold
it
on,
the
let's not
dragon gave
describe
his
it.
It's
power,
bedtime. Go lay in your own bed.
and his throne had great authority. One of these heads seemed to have a moral wound, but the moral wound was healed, and the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. And they worshipped like a dragon, for it is given authority to the beast, and they have worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who can fight against it?" This beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it allowed to be exercised authority for 42 months. Hold on, there might be more. Oh, this is talking about the two beasts in Revelation
Yeah,
13.
I know.
There's
You're talking
two of
about
them.
others because there's supposed to be a beast of the land, right? A beast of the earth and a beast of the water. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
So
gonna, you're gonna make me get into this again, aren't you?
here's my thought though. Here's my thought. So if John refers to the Antichrist twice in the Bible as not one specific person but many antichrists, it makes me wonder if it's like, because if Jesus is speaking in Jesus likes to speak in metaphors, right? And he teaches us in metaphors sometimes. And we even see that in Revelation. Like the first 5, 6 chapters of Revelation, he has tons of metaphors. For the churches, he's using like the lamps, and like the different
Yeah,
spiritual,
the whole
like,
book is all symbolism.
yeah. So my thought then would be, so if the Antichrist is if they're referring to it as a person, but there's many of them, it almost makes me wonder if he's speaking about it like the Antichrist is a movement. It's like not, maybe not a movement, but it's like an idea,
An
or
ideology. Yeah,
like you
it's an
said,
ideology. It's a religion.
yeah, it's something that people
Yeah.
believe. Like I would say the people who are blaspheme blasphemy God would be the people that
Ooh.
are the Antichrist.
Or I would picture. I would say it's more like this, like because we're like Christ, right? So Christ came.
Mhm.
There's only one Christ, but now we're like Christ.
Yeah.
I believe that there's going to be like an antichrist, but then there's going to be people that are his doers, his followers, his workers, and to me that's would make more sense that they're describing his followers as
But
other
if
antichrists.
but if Satan is the ultimate antichrist though, then anyone who follows Satan would be an antichrist as well.
Yeah, but not the That's what I'm saying. So I think it can be used as a descriptive term and also a title. I don't think their title would be
Yeah.
antichrist. They would be
I just
described as
think,
an antichrist.
like, I know that they refer to the Antichrist like, oh, the Antichrist will roam the earth, but no one is living that long. That's why I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be a specific
That's a good point.
person more than like it's gonna be, like you said, a demon or a something that's possessing
You should.
people, or like an idea that people are following. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, so on here, Second Thessalonian, the man of sin, son of perdition. I don't know what that means. And then Daniel, Antichrist is connected to the age of the Gentiles. And then Paul also refers to the Antichrist as the man of lawlessness, the son of perdition, or whatever it's referred to as. So like a singular, the man, the man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
If
know.
you want to learn more about it, you have to read Daniel. Daniel, like you can't just read Revelations on its own. Like
Yeah.
you have to use Daniel too, which makes
It's
it even more confusing.
it's definitely interesting to think about though. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I obviously don't know for sure anything. Um like I'm just kind of spewing different ideas out there to kind of try to get us to kind of think about it a little bit, just the idea of what like John is trying to portray here. But it definitely makes me think sometimes, like, okay, what am I actually like? When I read things like this and I talk about it, it makes me think deeper about it and be like, hey, what am I actually reading, and like what is actually happening here? You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
When
I think there's gonna be one main though. I do believe
oh,
that just because just
Larry's
like
in
everything
here.
else is. Yeah,
Larry, are you here?
Larry would have good understanding of this too. I would assume, or
What?
some knowledge of
I
it.
heard my name.
Larry, got a question for you.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're talking about Revelation and we're talking about the Antichrist. Do you think the
Mhm.
Antichrist is one person, or it's like, or what's your interpretation on the Antichrist?
Mm, what verse?
Huh?
There's multiple,
We're
but
bouncing
I guess
around
what's your
all over the
initial
place.
understanding of Antichrist? Was it is it
Probably not as much as you're looking for, but it's just one person. It's my first understanding of it. But it's also the problem with Revelations is it's so poetic and visual that people can interpret it
yeah?
however they like. It
So,
could mean a place, it could mean a people.
I
Larry,
think
in
like God, like
first
the term God. Sorry, go ahead.
so Larry, in First John chapter 2 verse 18, it refers to the Antichrist as like mini Antichrist. So why if
8:2.
it yeah, First John chapter 2 verse 18.
What version? NIV.
Yeah, that might be why. But
I use New American Standard if I'm actually studying. Just to
Yeah, I
I'm
use
telling you, it's the
NASB.
best.
Or
New
the NLT's
Amer-
not terrible. Mm, where does it say that at?
in verse 18.
Oh, 18, not 8. It's not
No, you're good.
First John 8:18 doesn't have.
First John chapter 2 verse 18.
I thought you said it was in Second John for some reason.
There's one in
Okay.
Second John 2, but I was starting at First John.
Mm, doesn't Antichrist just mean anybody against Christ, though?
See, but so that's what I was kind of thinking. So like anyone who blasphemies Christ would be considered an Antichrist then?
See, what I'm telling you is what my belief is that white horse representing in that chapter in Revelations is
Mm-hmm.
representing a singular person, though. Is representing a singular person who's bringing the spirit of Antichrist on the earth, and then so his title would be Antichrist,
So you're
and then his
saying
followers would be described as Antichrist. So they would be description, not a title. Like
so just
titles come with
like
authority.
we're called Christians.
Right. That's what I said
The
earlier.
people who
Just like
follow
how
the
Christ came.
Antichrist would also be considered
Yes,
Antichrist.
exactly. Same thing. That's the way I see it.
Larry, do you agree with that?
Or see logic.
Uh,
Maybe not necessarily agree.
yeah, I mean, I see the logic in it. I never looked at it more.
Yeah. Well, I don't know
But
a lot about it. I just thought it was interesting that in Revelation they refer to one Antichrist, but John refers to multiple Antichrists in First John and Second John.
And also understand all of our understanding on these symbols and stuff are based off of other commentaries.
This is true.
Right. There's not it doesn't say this horse is the Antichrist, but according to commentaries and scholars, it's the Antichrist.
This is true. This is true.
But I also think that's intentional because, you know, if you're too descriptive, I feel like one, it probably wouldn't have been taken very well, but also kind of takes away the no one will know the time or the hour and stuff like that. Kind of takes away some from the.
This is true. Coolin, you got any last final thoughts? Does anybody have any last final thoughts on this before we close out?
No, I'm
Is
just
Brady
gonna
there? You gotta
listen.
ask Brady.
Brady will be in here for 3 hours if I asked him to come down here and give us his interpretation. So we're not
Not
gonna
really.
go
I'm
there.
just kind of listening to people that know more about it than me. Just kind of
Yeah,
taking in the
well,
information.
I don't know a lot either. That's why I asked Larry what he thought, because Larry has a degree in this. So I was like, Larry probably studied this a lot more than I did. But I just think I just thought it was interesting that the
Probably
Antichrist was referred.
studied his least.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. You're on the wrong book.
What books did you study?
A lot of the Old Testament and pretty much everything about Paul.
Okay.
I loved Paul. Paul was what I did. Mine was Paul, Revelations, and Daniel. I
I
had
do
to
like
write.
Revelations though.
Revelations is like a trip. You could take a
Okay.
roller coaster and then go around and then get on a different roller coaster, and it's like, okay, well, and then you're back on the first roller coaster. So
I don't like Revelations.
Did you have
it's
to take hermeneutics?
Yeah,
Larry?
but it was such a simple class.
What do they call it when you do the breakdown of the chapters? What do they call those again?
I don't remember.
I can't either. I can't think of it now. But you know what I'm talking about? Like that was like your assignments. You had to do whatever it's called. I can't.
all right, y'all. I am gonna pray us out here, and then we are gonna continue with some games. But uh, God, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for the opportunity you've given us to just praise you and learn more about your word and challenge our thinking um in these topics, and bounce around ideas off each other and just have a better understanding of your word to the best of our knowledge, God. Um, God, I thank you for um, this change of season that we're having. It's very beautiful. It's much needed. The cool weather that we're getting, the cool fall weather, I really appreciate it. I love it. Um, God, I just lift up those who are hurting, those who have prayer requests that are unspoken. God, I pray for them. I pray for safe travels for all of people who are going to be traveling for the next few days. And God, I pray for a bountiful uh, time coming up as we're heading into the holidays. God, I pray for just that everybody will be in good spirits and loved, and that you will just continue to work through them. And yeah, but I thank you again, and I love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you guys. Again, if you guys have any comments that you guys want us to talk about, go ahead and put those in here. And if you do like the video, go ahead and tap that like button. I appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good, good, good Friday.